What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So in this video, we're going to continue on from what we've talked about already today. Events going on at the UN, from the recognition of Palestine by many new countries, now over 150 plus. And we talked about that in the previous video, how that, in my opinion, benefits Palestinian cause and pushes and puts a lot of pressure, added pressure, not a lot, but added pressure to Israel and also, in turn, the U.S. Of course, Israel had a negative reaction to it, but what did the U.S. do? So in this video, we're going to talk about Trump and him condemning the recognition of the Palestinian statehood at the UN. So thank you very much for joining me. If you welcome to ClearTalk. If you are new, welcome to ClearTalk. If you would like to check out more videos on the channel, please do so. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. If you want to check out videos from my other channels, JMDPLAY, Puzzling, please do so as well on those. Consider subscribing there. Subscribing, like, share, commenting, all that good stuff helps get the videos out to more people, which helps ultimately the channels and me and the JMD Nation as a whole. So also you see there flickering around is the TikTok link. If you are more of a TikTok person, you can join me over there. I kind of throw everything over there or bits and pieces of stuff over there kind of randomly. So if you like to join and see things there, might throw stuff there that you might not see here, or whatever. Please consider doing that as well. That could help out. And then, of course, there are support there, Patreon, if you want to do ongoing support, or a link there for one-time stuff. Joining the JMD Nation, that would be amazing. Any support you do give is very much appreciated, and I thank you very, very much. And if you're returning, you are freaking amazing. Thank you for returning. Keep coming back. I will tell you that every time, that you are amazing. So, yeah, I have an itch. I've had an itch this whole afternoon going on. Okay, so yes, we have the what's going on. We have the UN Assembly. Trump, of course, goes. He gives his initial 180 on the Ukraine-Russia. But then he goes in to the General Assembly and gives this stark speech where he not only condemns the recognition of Palestine, but I mean, just goes off on UN altogether, starts even attacking other countries when it comes to climate change and stuff like that. I mean, it was quite frankly off the rails. Of course, you have people just, putting it up as this amazing speech that needed to be said. It's about time, that this kind of stuff is thrown in the faces of the UN people. And while I can understand some sentiment of some things being said, and that the UN has its problems, most definitely. But I wouldn't necessarily argue that something like this, especially the speech in its entirety, was beneficial whatsoever. We have here from the Time, Trump condemns recognition of Palestinian statehood. There is a little bit of video that I will play as well to kind of go over a lot of other different things that he said. But Donald Trump took aim at the decision from 7 countries to recognize a Palestinian statehood, arguing that it served as a reward to Hamas. Wait a minute. Where did we hear that from? That was. Oh yeah, that's what Israel said. Oh, I thought. Oh, but this is the U.S. Okay, well, I thought we were different. I thought we had our, we could have our own opinion, but I guess not. Okay, all right, sorry. Argue that it serves as a reward to Hamas during his address in the United Nations General Assembly in New York on Tuesday, as if to encourage continued conflict. Some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The reward would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for those horrible atrocities, including October 7th. Trump said it has been deeply engaged. He has been deeply engaged in trying to procure a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Oh, really? Have we? Have we really? And insisted that he wants all hostages to be released. We want to get it done. We've discussed this over and over again, how we keep allowing Israel to move the goalposts and we ourselves have been allowed for the goalposts to be moved over and over and over again. Not, getting Israel on board or forcing them to be on board or whatever. Like, we're constantly throwing different proposals at Hamas, sometimes multiple ones in 24 hours, changing agreements. And we are, it is complete chaos and unhinged, activity, even on our part, in trying to so-called procure this ceasefire. So it's insane. This could have been solved so long ago. No shit. You yourself could have already resolved this. But instead of giving into Hamas ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Arguing that Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Israel is the one that is repeatedly rejected. Ahead of Trump's UN General Assembly, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt vowed it would be one of his biggest foreign policy speeches yet, and that the world is going to see what America's strengths looks like. It looks like fucking ignorance. That's what it looks like. Leavitt maintained that the president's address would articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. Oh, by telling all other nations that they don't know how to fucking run their nations. That's what he did. Following his speech, during which he took aim at the United Nations and claimed that offering no help to him in his efforts to end world wars, Trump expressed his belief that his words have been very well received. The president is now expected to host bilateral meetings with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Zelensky, leaders of Argentina. With that one, that's going to have to be for another day. Representatives from the European Union. He also met with Muslim and Arab leadership, as well as Prime Minister Netanyahu, to discuss the Hamas war. And this, of course, like we said, was all in response to the countries who have just recently announced their recognition. But here we go. Here is a little bit of snippet of, it's like a 50-something minute, but this is a 5-minute section here where we just to kind of show you the type of things that Trump discussed in this blistering, amazingly articulate speech to the UN General Assembly.
The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Now, I'm going to do a separate video on all of these supposed wars that Trump is claiming that he has helped end. And a bit too, I'm thinking nobody's surprised. It's not exactly how he states. It's not exactly. He didn't actually just end 7 wars in 7 months. Shocker, right? But that's going to be in another video, so stay tuned for that. But let's continue on.
It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work.
Now, if you don't know what's going on there, what he's talking about, is it also was that on the way in to the UN, there's escalators that go up to another from the floor level, and he said that it stopped midway up. That's not actually true. It stopped as soon as they got on it. But I'm also going to do a little fun segment on that as well. Yes, the escalator stopped right as they were getting on it, and they had to climb, or they didn't have to, but they chose to climb them. There was an escalator quite literally right beside them that they could have backed out and went up. That was working. But they chose to walk up it. And there's conspiracies around that and other stuff. But like I said, I'm going to do a little fun video on that too. But also the teleprompter, apparently at some point during his speech, the teleprompter had some error. One of the teleprompters had an error or something, stopped working or whatever. So that's what he's saying, that the UN has not done anything for him except for those 2 things that literally happened on that day. Go figure.
These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with the mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace.
Which is bullshit.
We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed, so changed. Climate change, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
So, yeah. So, he attacks the United Nations over and over and over again, talking about how they haven't helped do anything. And which, you know, the United Nations can't technically, like, physically do much of anything around the world. They don't really have, like, a military per se to just, like, bring efforts to things. They unless they can get, like, nations that are a part of the UN to offer assistance by, you know, military assistance, and it can be a collective like thing that can go into an area to try to, as a peace effort kind of thing. But most of the time, the UN is really just a proclamation type of things. People coming together to state, hey, we don't agree with this, or this is something that needs to be worked on, or this is something we'd like to have achieved. Whatever, like it's a joining of countries to come together and ultimately, you know, try to talk about issues going on around the world and how they need to be addressed, conflicts. Recognizing whether or not conflicts are just or not, or if they're going too far, or, you know, things like genocide or whatever. Like there's all these types of things that's basically what it is a joining of representatives of all countries to talk over issues on the international stage and where we would like to see things go, how we would like to improve things. Now, are they perfect by any means? No. There's things that they have not been very well successfully are being successful at. But a lot of actions and stuff you can argue are not being done by the UN because of efforts from other countries that are getting in the way. Like your major countries, especially if you're talking about the UN Security Council, whether it's conflicts that countries, say like Israel, Russia or China does not agree with, and they veto things. Or like in this conflict with Gaza, the United States constantly vetoing, and it only takes one veto. We've tried a video of this before. It only takes one veto on the Security Council to end a resolution from the Security Council. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. For just one country out of 14 countries, just one country can disagree and veto, and sorry, can't happen. So there are rules and stuff around the UN that I certainly think needs to change, and those rules are creating like stall and the inability for the UN to even be effective as it could be. So there's a lot of things that I completely agree need to change, but to act and say that the UN doesn't attempt to do things, doesn't attempt to reconcile. I mean, they're constantly trying to diplomatically handle situations or try to come to resolutions and agreements. Sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't, because countries will disagree or agree or not like this thing. I mean, it's not so easy as to snap a finger like Trump thinks it is, and like Trump claims that he's done when he hasn't. So it's kind of tongue in cheek there on that. But then to go on and attack the countries like we talked about with Palestine and that are recognizing Palestine and arguing, as you saw there, the representative for Israel just shaking his head like, yeah, you're going to stay in line, aren't you, Trump? Yeah, you're going to do what we said, aren't you? Yeah. And that's just completely spewing the talking points of Israel right there in front of all the all these countries, all these people who recognize Palestine as a for statehood. More and more added, in recent days, and it's in my opinion embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It shows the lack of good faith that we have in this argument. And then to go on and attack countries over climate change, continuing the climate change is a hoax thing, and that you're just failing your countries if you're engaging in any way in trying to help the climate, like it's a bad thing to try to help our climate and try to improve our climate. Like it's just ignorance of the all-time high level. And that's what you get from Trump and the people around Trump constantly. The Republican Party, the MAGA group at large, is just sheer, just unabided ignorance to stuff like that. Or or just complete defense of actions like what's going on in the Middle East with Israel. Unapologetically, even so. And I just, it's embarrassing for me. It's ridiculous that we as a country, in my opinion, have slipped this far, allowing someone like that to become president and to spew lies, misinformation, inaccuracies. I mean, we thought that Trump 1.0 was bad, but Trump 2.0 has just been tenfold worse. But this is what we are about. Apparently, we are about, like I said, spewing hatred, division, talking down to our allies, talking down to other countries, acting like they don't know what they're doing and we know better. Trump knows all. He's the all-knowing leader of the free world. While, as we discussed in a couple of videos ago, he clearly was wrong about Putin. Admittedly so, on his part. We know he's wrong. We know he's wrong about a lot of things. The arrogance, just the arrogance itself in having that a hat like that, and then to braggadocious. I'm not bragging or nothing, but Trump's always right. I'm always right. I mean, it's so fucking childish. It's so ridiculous. The narcissism of this fucker going in the UN and saying the shit that he says. This is not strength. This is not boldness. This is not big bad wolf, getting on to the little kitties. This is just sheer stupidity. It's just ignorance. And what few things that he may have said that, could have some actual arguable accuracy to it in bringing up issues with the UN, it completely falls to deaf ears when it's surrounded by sheer just stupidity and lies and ignorance. Even if you were to tweak and be like, he's actually right about that. Oh, whoa, but that's not right. Nope, that's that. Oh, shit, fuck. Why did he say that? Damn, he almost had, oh, fuck. Because that's all you get when he opens his mouth. To give praise to this man for one small little thing that he might, in some degree, actually be right on, and act like the other 50 things he said around it were just extremely wrong. Yeah, this was ridiculous. And did not benefit the United States whatsoever. Let me know what you think. Until next time, peace, ClearTalk. I'm out.